How's that? Yeah, that's working now. For heck's sake. Hi, Heather. Thank you for telling me about that, Rick. So, I guess let's start the whole spiel over again, right? Hi, I'm Morgan. My pronouns are they and their, and this is my channel, Tempest TT Games, where Tempest games tend to... the TT is just really for the internet. It's not actually the name of the stream. I don't know what I'm thinking. Tempest Games, where I do world building and ttrpg and board game design content for funsies, where I don't know, well, I kind of know what I'm doing, but not totally. I was just saying while muted that I had to disappoint someone today because I was talking about how I've been wanting to do a special episode on dice mechanics and probabilities as it applies to game design. And someone immediately replied and was, oh, I'd be totally into doing a stream on that. That would be so much fun. I'm like, oh, wow, that would be really cool to have someone, like a couple of people talking about dice mechanics and getting all nerdy and like, but that's not my channel. My channel is the kind of channel where I have only half a clue, and I do it anyway. And that's kind of the point. That you can do it too if you only have half a clue or no clue at all. The trick is just to get started. And so I had to apologize to this person and say, unfortunately, no, I don't do like expert stuff on my show. It's not going to happen that way. But show up in chat, because that would be amazing. To have people in chat talking about it, to have experts popping in on chat and being chatty about stuff like that. I'm probably gonna have in my head right now, I see that there will be a content set that does involve guests. Well, two that involve guests. One of those is I just got thrown off. Hi, Chaotic Stupid Media. Thank you for following, and also thank you to Maka the DM and DM Chronicles and Sam P20, who also followed recently. I only just got to talking to Chaotic Stupid Media recently. How did I find out? I'm trying to figure out which came first, the Hope for TTRPG's Discord or going to your stream, and I'm not sure what it was. It might have been Twitter just was doing it, or because we just got a new influx on the UK and EU TTRPG Discord server because somebody posted an invite to it on the RPG subreddit. And our numbers doubled overnight. So I don't know where anybody's really come from anymore. You're right. There's this Discord may have probably after your stream. But but I have been suddenly finding all of these people who are doing live world building like I like to do. And so I've been trying to watch all the streams, and it's really not helping me with getting my brain back in order. I feel like my brain has been this puzzle lately that somebody shook up in the box and then threw out on the table, and I'm just starting to get things back together again. It's been an unusual few months for me. I'm glad everybody's here. I'm trying to get back to normal. That's where I'm wearing my extra glasses today instead of my normal glasses. I haven't worn these in over a year, and I thought I needed to wear them again. So, I bought these at the same time. I have my other ones right here. So I bought these, and these are my normal me glasses, and it's a very different style for me. It was right after I came out as agender, when I put these glasses on, and I had to go in like the men's section and everything, and I put them on, and I'm like, holy crap, that is amazing. And I know they're paid to say this, but even the assistants at the opticians were all really excited about these glasses on me. And then I saw these, and I couldn't decide between the two. And my grandfather was an optometrist, and so I was sort of raised with this idea of always have a backup pair of glasses. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna have my everyday me glasses, which are those ones I just put down over there, and then I've got my extra glasses, my exaggerated me glasses. And they're for like special occasions. So I wear them to weddings and things, and when I feel like I need to be a bit extra. Thank you, Rick. Do you have extra glasses? Oh, I'd love to see them. That's great. Funny. What makes them funny? They're not like the slinky eyeglasses, are they? Or the hologram eyeball glasses. Those are good. So let's see. It's been a month since I did a stream because, like I said, things have been crazy. I don't know if you've ever had one of those real life situations that crops up and just takes over your life for several weeks. That's very much what happened to me this last month. But that is over and done with, and I'm so very glad about it. But I'm trying to just, like I said, reassemble myself so that I can get back to normal things. And I mean, I was thrown off a few months before that when my dog passed away. So I'm just trying really hard to get things going, which is why I'm doing a weird bouncing around thing. Like, you notice, so my chair broke right before my last stream. I don't know if you remember that, but so my other armchair is back there, and I got out my exercise ball, which is why I'm a little bouncy. I can't not bounce on it when I'm on it. So if that bothers you, I'm so sorry. Oh, thanks, Chaotic. I appreciate that. But it keeps me, I feel like I'm a little bit more awake when I'm on. It's soothing. I'm really good to hear that because you get a lot of it. Yay, Heather! Kind of love the bouncing. All right, I'll just keep doing it. We'll just lean into it. How does that sound? It makes me feel a bit, I mean, my posture is better when I'm on it, and I have chronic fatigue, and it's a very low level fitness thing that I can do to help me. It's a thing called pacing, where you just do little tiny bits really often, trying to get your energy levels and your fitness levels back to where they should be, where they're normal. And this is a thing that doesn't set me back too much as long as I get some good sleep. So it's a nice thing, and hopefully it'll help me get back to doing some more things like riding my bike again and doing my shoulder rehab because I have a bad shoulder. You're right. It's very hard not to be happy when you're bouncing. This is almost like a stim for me. No, it almost surely is a stim for me. I'm just the kind of person who just loves this sort of thing. Like, I can't be on a rocking chair without moving it, or a hammock without swinging. Yeah, Kona. That doesn't surprise me that Kona broke your bouncing ball. She would have thought that was a joyful toy, and she would not have stopped with it. Speaking of dogs, other crazy stuff that's going on. Part of the reason I didn't stream last week was because I was expecting our first foster dog to show up. I'm very, very excited about that. She's the most beautiful 2-year-old husky you've ever seen, and I kind of already want her to be mine, but I have to keep reminding myself she's a foster. She's not mine. Mark, of course he did, Mark. He's so terrible. Oh, that's great. I bet you would love a rocking chair. I can absolutely see you in a rocking chair, Rick. Just like, chilling. Yeah, reading your book. Ben sitting by the fire. Ben is a dog, by the way. With a Gandalf pipe, exactly. Like one of those chunky knitted lap throws. Yep. That's great. That sounds excellent. Oh. We're setting the mood. That's what we're doing. We're setting the mood. So I was talking about doing an actual plays and having guests with that. I'm actually, and this is possibly the first time I've mentioned it on stream or in any of my social media, like openly, but I am actually prepping an actual play, and that should be coming in the next few weeks. So, oh, that's right. That's what you meant. Sorry. Yes, Torch's name is Ben, but then so is Grizzly Eyes dog. That's Rick. Oh, no, see, my mind is actually going there now. I'm mentioning Rick in the rocking chair by the fire and Flying Torch curled up on a rug by the fire. Oh, it's so disturbing. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the other thing I do. Can you hear that? Yeah, I can see it in the thing. You can hear that. I have a chair mat down on the ground. So whenever I like roll the ball, it makes a farty noise. So in case you hear anything that sounds slightly farty, I swear to God, it's the ball. It's not me. See, that is, oh man, that is like life goals for me, to do what like a retreat, like a ttrpg retreat, and have all of us like get together and like one of those, because I've done a few of these with writing, and you always get those like old like barn conversion houses. They're always the cheapest ones because they're effing cold. They're cold as tits, and there's only like one fireplace, and the only way it actually heats the room is if you use coal or like a ridiculous amount of wood. But they're always such cozy, nice things, and I could totally see us all in the lounge of one of these old houses in, I don't know, somewhere in Wales. I'm not thinking of any of the nature reserves all of a sudden. I can't think of their names. And just everybody just do like chilling out in a spot in the lounge, and us like playing a role-playing game, like something that doesn't need dice, so that we don't have to like get all high energy in front of the table kind of thing. Well, I hope the kids aren't awake enough to be hearing my farting sounds, Heather. Thank you very much. I don't need them trying to talk to me about farting next time I see them. Let's see. It's the leather. Yeah. Oh, that would work. Just a D6 system. Yeah. Cloth dice. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I have. You know what I have? I have one of those like little silicone dice that's, well, it's not little, it's quite huge. But it's got the thing in it where if you throw it and it hits something, lights start going off, and it's just the most amazing thing. It's practically a cat toy. That would be amazing. I don't actually know where it is now. I'm gonna have to find it so I can play with it. I need stuff to play with in my hands a lot. Rick knows about this. I have a slinky. Rick and I both have slinkies. We're slinky people. I don't know if that's a thing, but this one annoys me. I don't know if you can hear it. And do some slinky SMR. How does that sound? Except this slinky doesn't have the right noise, and it also doesn't sit. It doesn't sit sit properly. Oh, hang on. Like, it won't sit flat. It's like the gauge of the metal is too thick, and so it doesn't make the right noise. And, uh-oh. Oh, the cat. This noise makes it sound like cats. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. So I need to do some shopping around for slinkies. I might end up having to buy a slinky collection just to get one that sounds and feels right. Oh my god, that sounds terrifying. I can understand why that would be traumatic for you very much. Okay. Let's see. So as far as the stream itself goes, I don't know if you heard of this, but I broke everything a few weeks ago while I was setting up the new actual play. I accidentally deleted my entire basic stream setup and had to reassemble it from a backup I had made when I got the new desktop. And I just had to piece it all back from that. I'd been doing so much work on it already in the last month, so I don't know what is working and what is broken, or what I forgot, or I just put it together to the best of my knowledge. And I've been adding a bunch of new things. So like if you look in, let's see if I can point in the right direction. If you look in that corner, there's a new, right here, there's a new little thing. So instead of alerts, it's got just to take care of people following me. So, and then I'm using the Streamlabs chatbot now, although that only crops up when somebody follows me at the moment. But for like things like the actual play, it'll be more useful for stuff like that. I've got my chat sticking up longer because it went away too quickly. I can't think of what else. It's probably slightly more polished than it was before because I think I was prioritizing getting stuff done over making it quite right. And this time, I think because I knew what I was doing before I did it, I was slightly better at it. But yeah. As always, if you have any tips for what I'm doing, but better, you can DM me on Twitter at Tempest TT Games. That's 3 T's in a row. Yeah, silver linings makes it better. Okay, let's see. Today is show. We are working on the Player's Guide to Kinde. Kinde is the name of my setting, which is system agnostic. I will most likely be designing, thank you for that, Rick. I will most likely be designing a system to go with it once I feel like the setting is actually playable. But that is a little bit further down the line. The setting itself is post-apocalyptic meets a sort of restricted fantasy. I don't want to say low fantasy because there's definitely magic in it, but because of the story of the setting, because of the story of the setting, their magic is limited in lots of different ways. Oh, thanks, Chaotic. I appreciate that. Yeah. This sort of thing is kind of my jam, because I'm a bit of a graphic design hobbyist, but I don't like lasers and flashy things, because I know a lot of Twitch is all like, lasers and strobe lights, and that's just not my jam. So I keep things really low key on here. And I've got some plans to actually make things slightly higher tech while still being visually low key. But that all comes in just little tiny bits. It's part of my practice of self-care as well, because I'm the kind of person who wants to do it perfect and do it all at once and just do all the things. and then I burn out really easily. And so I'm trying really hard to just make things work and make things effective, and make things sort of more representative of me, as much as they can be before I make them, shiny and whatnot. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't fit the mood with this kind of content. But a lot of people still use it. So, that's why I was really glad when I popped in on your stream and it wasn't all lasers and strobe lights. And I was like, yay, I can actually watch this without getting distracted. Oh, come on, Ben. I love your RGB lighting. Besides, you're doing YouTube anyway, so it's just a different ball game. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I love your RGB lighting in the back. Ben's talking about the flying torch, flickering torch. You're the flying torch now. I like that, actually. Can you imagine that? Like a torch just floating. All of his videos have colored lighting. And this is actually a new thing that I did. I got a little light to light up my background because I moved. It does, you're right, chaotic. I moved the lamp. Oh, I forget my fingers out of stage. I moved the lamp that I had pointing back there up to the side of me, up on a ladder, where it's now my headlight or my hair light, so that it lights up my shoulders, and sets me off from the background. So I needed to get a light, and I got one of those cheap, like 18-pound things. And let's see if I can get it to change the color. I think this is the one. Yep. This is the sort of me doing my, this is my best approximation with only 120 LED colors, of my brand color, which, I mean, just doesn't quite, it's just not quite it on screen, is it? I could probably go a bit oranger. Maybe add some, I don't want to screw with it right now or it'll come up with something totally different. I'll leave that on. That actually doesn't look half bad. But yeah, Flickering Torches videos often had two different colored RGB lights in the background, and I think it's really cool. It's pointing at his ttrpg bookshelf. It's great. I don't really have a place to do that kind of filming, or the equipment to really do that with. Although I have my eye on a used camcorder to do all of my video stuff with, including live stuff. That would also be great for doing that kind of edited content. So if I do get something like that, I might start thinking about toying around with edited content. Yes, thank you. I kind of like this too. I mean, it's my actual background. This isn't like staged. I mean, it's vaguely staged. It was placed in mind that the camera was going to be pointing at it, but, and I do have things like, one of my, fiber arts projects on the shelf, and like an open book, and like this is my Shakespeare collection, one of those fancy ones, and then that's my Jules Verne collection, and there's some quilting fabrics that I got and stuff like that. It's kind of trying to be sort of representative of what my aesthetic is. But I think what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to take an actual staged photo of it, and then with a green screen, like, put it back in, because then stuff like there is boxes that I can't quite get off the ground aren't an issue. Let's see. Yeah, if you could even read those books, that's also a big thing. Like I was intentional about putting up the books that I thought were all of my different like flavors and whatnot, up there. So let's see, the top, hang on, let's see, finger. Okay, so that is Fables and Folktales. And then, let's see, then we got poetry and short stories, and then Italian books. And then down here, we've got just my random nonfiction. So there's modern art and gallery stuff down there. And there's a couple of books on teas. And there's some books on scripts from film scripts, and books on dogs, nonfiction books. And then we get from here basically onto the rest of the shelf is all plays, a lot of which, like, from here on is all Shakespeare. And then, like, the stuff behind my head is like regular fiction and stuff like that doesn't really need to be displayed in any way. Yes, you're right. That's doing the blur thing is very much something that I wanted to be able to do. That's part of the reason that I want to do the staged photograph of it with a green screen. But I need to get to the point where I feel like I can blow 150 quid on a green screen, and I don't really feel like doing that right now. Okay, we are super chatty today. Let's get on with things. I'm working on the Life in the World section. Let's switch over. Okay, so we are in the Life on the World section. Yeah, I knew Heather would like that, but Shakespeare, baby. Okay. What do I need? I want to show you this. No. What am I doing? I'm gonna go. How do I go incognito? I've lost my brain. I really just don't have it right now. Where's the incognito button nowadays on Chrome? Well, there it is. New incognito window. There we go. Okie doke. Boop. Nope. Wrong side. There we go. Okay, what am I going to show you? I'm going to show you DM of None. This is a podcast out of the States. Some very, very good content on this podcast. Heavily D&D oriented, but they do like to touch on other things. They have written up a document called essentially a campaign Bible. And no, that's not how I get to it. See, today I didn't pull all this stuff up because I thought it's so unlikely that I am going to be opening these things today. So I'm not going to open them up early because blah, 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 yada, yada. And then what do? The first thing I do is try to open them up. And supporting materials. No, here is it. Where is it? Where are you? Looking in my giant cloud folder of... Here it is. ttrpg stuff. Okay, so they've written this campaign Bible. They did base it on something else that someone had done, sort of not quite as intentionally as this. But it's written similar to how you would write a show Bible for a television show, which is essentially a document, a master document for all of the stuff that writers involved in the show need to know or need to use. Like, what's the formula? What is the content that always happens? Is there a B story or a C story or both? Or like, how big are they? And what are the flavors of those extra stories? and also just what is the general themes of the show. All of that goes into a show Bible. And this is a similar kind of document. It shouldn't be a long document, but it's also not very short. So we're talking 20, 30 pages, but it's the kind of thing that you hand to your players when you're running a homebrew world. You could also write one for a pre-written world, but generally speaking, like when we're talking about D&D 5th edition, people are already going to understand what Faerun is all about. So you don't need to hand them something like this because it's often just already up there. But when you're doing homebrew stuff, this can be really important. And I, as a player, have definitely found myself wishing that something like this existed when playing with DMs who do homebrew stuff, because I like to really get into the content when I do my character creation. I like to get my claws into the stuff, and I like to feel like I can really belong to the world that they're setting for me, which is hard to do if you don't have not necessarily enough information, but the right information. So this is all about setting up the right information for someone to being able to play. And we are up here in part 1, the first half, which is general information, down in the life and the world section. And this is slightly confusing because there's also a section on daily life, and I'm not sure what the difference between those two are, but to be fair, we can always just work our way through it as we go along, so I'm not too fussed about it right now. But I just picked some headlines of what I think is important to the daily life of people in the continent. Well, not the whole continent, but we are focused specifically on this one area, which is Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms. And this particular setting is very point of view focused. Everyone who will be playing in it is playing a human, or something very related to humans, like what you would call like a heritage or like a sub-ancestry. So you can occasionally play a tiefling, you can occasionally play a half-elf or a half-orc. But the large majority of people you're going to run to are going to be human. And like absolutely no elves. And it's a rare day when you run into like a gnome or a halfling, unless the group decides to go to those specific areas, or do something involving those cultures. Yeah, it's a very different kind of fantasy, which is something I set out to do. So the last two streams, we talked a lot about education. In Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms, we talked about the aptitudes, which is an exam for young people that assesses what a person is potentially good at. We talked about the exchanges, locations in every city where people meet to exchange knowledge and training. We talked about apprenticeships and how they may or may not have been different from what we understand the concept to be from European medieval concept. But right now we are going to go into the first flight. I started taking some notes and stuff I wanted to work on in this episode. And I almost got really carried away and I had to stop, and because I was thinking and coming up with ideas, and I wanted to be able to do all of that here. So the first flight, this is a unique to Mimini City concept. It is the name for the groups of people who left Mimini City Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Chaotic. Pipe in whenever you want to as well. I'd love to hear people's different takes and reactions to the stuff that I'm working on. Also, ask questions if you don't know what I'm talking about, or aren't sure that you know what I'm talking about, because, like I said, this is a very different kind of fantasy environment. So the first flight. We have, so the basic history of our setting is the elven occupation was a time when the elves occupied the known world, including our continent, Waterluna, and built their elven megacities on mountaintops throughout the world. And that's where Mimini City is set. It's set in a mountain that the humans colloquially call the Faceless Mountain. And there are other cities on this continent. There are 2 other cities on this continent, but we have no contact with them yet because it's only been 47 years since the elves disappeared literally overnight. And that is essentially the story, that we are a civilization of humans who have been exploited and subjugated by these occupying elves. Yeah. Is that real? Oh, wow. That's really cool. The weird coincidences, Chaotic. They just keep coming up. So these humans are basically trying to rebuild their society. They were what the elves made them, and to a large degree, there's nothing that they can do about that. They are permanently changed. They have been exploited by the elves for 2,500 years. And now they are alone, and they don't have the skills that they need to... in many cases, they don't have the skills that they need to survive. It's a very mixed bag. They have some skills, because knowledge and training was very heavily controlled by the elves. So they're trying to rebuild the society when they just only have bits and pieces of what a society is and how a society works. And so for the first 25 years post-Exodus, the Exodus being the day that the elves left, they tried forming a kingdom, and that did not work. They didn't have the skills and the knowledge and the capability of organizing tens of thousands of people as a kingdom. They just didn't have it. It just was never going to work that way. So they decided to break everything down and make it a little bit more horizontal and separate into smaller groups. And that's where we get the 8 lorddoms. So, and then this is also where we have the first flight. Some people went out exploring after some talks that people had, that some public talks that happened where people tried to decide how they were going to proceed as a society. And people went exploring and picked 8 places. And the number 8 is kind of significant in this setting. But they picked 8 places to set up new settlements in the wilderness of the land surrounding the Faceless Mountain. And so then leaders of these new settlements were picked, and then the leaders were picked based on skills that they had, that they believed, that they agreed that society needed in order to grow. And then people were chosen to go with those new leaders, those new lords as they're called, and help those lords build individual settlements in each of the different lorddoms. So that's why it's called Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms. And the first flight are all of those people who left in that first group, who went on to start the new settlements. So In modern days, we are now a little bit over 20 years later in the present day. And so the first flight is actually the older generation. Their children are now starting to run things and be present in the new society. And that's something that I keep forgetting about, actually. I keep thinking the people I have running things now are the people who started everything, but 20 years is a lot of time. And considering that they were trying to pick people from, a normal spread of ages who had expertise on things, on the things that they needed to be doing in their settlements, it doesn't make sense that they're all young enough to still be alive and the word that's coming to my brain is virile enough to still be running things. But that's definitely something to keep in mind and note. Like if I had a post-it note on my screen, that would definitely be it. So what's life like for the first flight? How do I phrase this? Life is labor / a labor of love. Life is learning, because these are one of the core values of the people from Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms. This is why education was such a big section in life in the world, because as soon as the elves left and they just started trying to do things on their own, they realized that they just were not getting it right, and this is why the kingdom of the Mimini City fell apart. The elves had taken knowledge from them and kept it to themselves and separated it out into the caste system. And so today these humans are all thinking there is one whole settlement dedicated to rebuilding the knowledge of ancient humans. But that is big, that is high, that is large in the mind of every human in this area, just in living their daily lives. So they're constantly trying to learn skills that they didn't have before. They're attending the exchanges on a regular basis. They're just experimenting and trying to do things and being brave. And I think that's actually a good thing. Known for their bravery is maybe not the word. So what's between bravery and recklessness? Curiosity. So it's that sort of mix: bravery, recklessness, curiosity. Let's do a thesaurus hunt. I need a song for this. I need like a little jingle. Brashness, that's good, but that leans toward gruff. Like, yeah, like brash is also aggressive, and I don't mean aggressive. So let's see, bravery, thesaurus. I need a jingle, like a let's go on a thesaurus hunt, a thesaurus hunt, a thesaurus hunt. Yeah. Which, that's not the song. I don't want that to be the song. I need a different song. Fearlessness? Maybe. That's not bad, just to call it fearlessness. Daring, fortitude, spirit, spunk. It's not a word that really got through the 90s well. guts, frontiersmanship. I can't even say that when I'm going frontiersmanship. That's so North American. Oh, I'm sorry, Heather. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just glad you're here. Yeah, Heather's one of my real life buddies that I miss terribly. Because she's also my neighbor, my immediate neighbor, so I still get to like see them from time to time, and I can hear them through the walls because we live in a shit house. But I don't get to see them. They used to in the before times that I was come over and play board games with us and stuff, or video games, and it was really nice. And we had when the pandemic hit, we had a terrible windstorm where I live, which happens almost every year, and it's always a story of whose fence panels have been taken out by this year's big storm, and last year it was us. And so our landlord decided to put in a whole new fence system, with concrete posts and everything, and like just the pre-made panels. And so we agreed with Heather and Mark, who lived next door to us, to put in a bit of trellis instead of a fence panel. And it was lovely all summer. We just got to like play and chat with each other and still maintain our social distancing, and see each other's dogs over the fence and everything. And now I'm getting the new foster dog. The rescue was very adamant, and it's totally understandable because it's a sled dog rescue, huskies and malamutes and the like. That we need to have 6-foot fence panels in everywhere, because huskies are just clever little bastards, who, if you turn around for half a second, and they will have climbed that fence, just opened that gate door, just gone. Windy villages are great. So last week we very sadly put the fence panel back together again, waiting for the dog, and I haven't seen their faces in like 2 weeks. I barely even saw Mark's face before he helped us put the panel in. Looking forward to future times. So what were you saying, Ben? Grit and determination. I think that's a good thing to comment on, actually. Grit and determination. Kona loves other dogs too much. I'm definitely going to spend some time trying to get to know Maisie's personality around other dogs before we introduce her to Kona, because Kona is just a big bundle of all the things, all the excitement, all the thrill. I love Kona though. Known for their grit and determination, fearlessness. We'll just leave it at that. So someone who's a part of the first flight, which we're talking about 99.9% of the population of Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms. We are not talking about the various splinter groups that aren't actually a part of the system, aren't a part of the larger society. For them, they live in a socialist society that's moneyless, which we'll get into. There's no money, there's no coin. The elves all took that with them, The humans never had any need for coin because they had all of their needs taken care of by the elves, so that they would do labor in turn for the elves. Just if you've got a link, post it to the link. What is a good way for you to post pictures? I would say just do a link if you got it on the cloud anywhere. But I mean, keep in mind that if you do put a link of your photo into the chat here, it is available for all the world to see because it will wind up in the video that I post on YouTube. So maybe I can just pass photos on to you later, Rick. Basically, Kona looks like a coconut in dog shape. Cool detail to figure out whose first flight is they often have a scar, stories of hard learned lessons from the first weeks of the flight. Yeah, I bet they do. Oh, that's an interesting point. Probably, I mean, no scars or anything like that, but they're known for bad temper with people trying to master or control them. They're always telling stories about how hard everything was. Every family has someone who was lost. Oh. Okay, here's a thought. Almost certainly, people starved and had other bad mishaps. And maybe the elves had some magic that was... I'm thinking now of what's going on in Texas at the moment. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but Texas is experiencing a very unusual cold snap. A very close friend of the family lives in Houston and was just coming back home from a trip to Denver yesterday or the day before, and said that Denver, which is at a very high altitude, is known for being, cold and snowy all the time, was actually warmer than Houston was when he arrived. And Houston is more, it's probably not at sea level, but it's definitely significant lower altitude. And much further south in the country. And it's so cold that the building regulations and the actual power infrastructure in almost the entire state, in large parts of the state, was not capable of handling those low temperatures. And so hundreds of thousands of people are without power in buildings that don't have very good insulation. And people are actually freezing to death. Homeless people are freezing to death on the streets. And politicians are tweeting about how everybody's a whiny baby and it's their fault that because they weren't prepared. It's a humanitarian mess. I mean, at the moment, my whole home country is just giant humanitarian mess. And this is today's big fiasco. Not biggest, but big fiasco. So essentially, the system became absent and a very hard time for the people of Texas. And that is not unlike what would be going on for these first flight people. The system that existed there that protected them is gone. Magic that they weren't allowed to use that ran the city is no longer being kept up by the elves. So people might have, they live on a mountaintop as well, so people might have been going cold. They might have been going hungry because of how much time it would take the humans that ran the underground farms to realize that people needed to be fed. There needs to be some kind of memorial situation. Okay, I'm going to add this life in the world. We're going to do another heading of what size is this? That's not body. Why? Heading to, we're gonna do, we'll just call them holidays. And we need a day for mourning the mourning losses resulting from the Exodus. Yeah. Okay. So that is going to be a big yearly event. It is mourning the fallout from the Exodus. We'll need to come up with a name for that later and everything. I think maybe we'll just reiterate that almost everyone volunteers to teach at the exchange at least once a year. Maybe we should we talk about the contract here, because there is an actual contract involved in the first flight. So we'll say that there was like a ceremony before everyone packed up and left, and there was like an oath they had to swear. Let's put this down here anyway for now. The first flight's oath. What's some oathy sounding language? It needs to emphasize that the first flight is acting on their own free will. but that they are doing service to humanity. Rebuild society in our own image. It's very biblical sounding, but biblical is not necessarily a bad thing. Bond, I like that. It's definitely, bond might be good in particular because there is a limit on the time that they are bonded to their oath. Bonded to this oath for the period of about 25 years. Children and children's children, because it's definitely a generational thing. Your contract your children and your children's children are held to the terms of your contract. Do we need to go another generation down? I mean, if we're talking about rebuilding society, and I have some notes on. No. Is that the one? No, this is the one. Notes on how long it would take to actually go from a camp on day 0 to sort of the ideal concept of what the settlement is supposed to be. So in the case of Nillenhold, it's a seafront town. But my own soul, humanity shall prosper. By the breaking of mine sweat, the people shall be safe. By mine own blood, our children shall be safe. Yeah, I mean, that's great language. I love that. Yeah. I like that you're using the word safe because I think you know this, but one of the main themes of this setting is recovering from trauma. Or move. I still haven't quite got the phrasing of how I'd phrase this, but moving on after trauma. I don't want to say, you can't. Trauma is not the kind of thing that you can move past or forget. That it's something that you will carry forward through you every day of the rest of your life, but you can still live. You can still have a beautiful and fulfilling life in spite of that trauma. So I like the use of the word safe there. So maybe that could, yeah. 30 years to be a frontier town, to be a proper seafront town. I mean, I think we're talking at least 100 years. Six months to erect a basic settlement, 1.5 years to become a frontier settlement, become a stronghold after 20 years when the keep is complete, a frontier town by the time the walls have finished building, and civic and cultural important buildings have been built and erected out of rock. Promise. Yeah. Although I'm not sure, would you use the word promise in an oath? Wouldn't it be more like vow? Yeah. And a generation is about, what, 30 years, right? So that's 3 generations. So you've got the original, their children, their children's children. So yeah, I think, yeah, that makes sense. Where are we at? Here. Children's, yeah. Safe needs to be in there. Ben, do you have a problem if I just write that whole thing down as you said it? I'll probably change it, but I don't want to. I like it as it is, as a like bite-sized chunk of inspiration. Bite-sized chunk? No. Whatever. I'm still a bit tired and a little bit brain foggy. I keep forgetting when I get really messed up like I have been lately, I forget to take all of my vitamins, and that just makes some of my brain fog worse. So okay, let's copy this by mine own soul. Humanity. I need to get back into my typing lessons, or my touch typing stuff again. Hang on. Shake those fingers out if I'm going to do some proper typing here. By my own soul, humanity shall prosper by the breaking of my sweat. People shall be safe by mine own blood. Our children be safe. Okay. I think, yeah, it paints a good picture that I'd like to be inspired by when I actually go write this down specifically. Yeah, probably. But that's okay. We don't have to be that picky about it right now. Right now it's just sort of an outlining kind of thing. And thank you again for that. I'm going to do flickering torch. It's not right without the in front of it. The flickering torch. Does it take that much longer to build docks? Oh, well, see, if you look at this, the docks are already built. The docks are built after 20 years. The fact that I'm calling it a seafront town doesn't have to do specifically with the actual things that exist in it so much as the name of it being representative of, like, if I saw that on a map, or if I walked into it, what would I call this type of place? So, I mean, essentially in earlier stages, I wouldn't necessarily define it by the fact that it has docks. I would say this is just very much a frontier town, or rather maybe it's kind of inheriting that frontierness about it from its earlier stages, and it still has remnants of that frontier aesthetic. And so by the time it reaches this stage, it's lost that frontier aesthetic. It is full-fledged itself, if that makes sense, as opposed to something that's trying to become itself. Yeah, does that sound right? Sounds all right to me. And that was just something I did like well over a year ago, just trying to figure out the basics of what existed in the town. I was actually trying to draw a map of Nillenhold when I started thinking about that stuff, because I'm obsessed with details like that. I can't draw a map without figuring out why I'm drawing a map and what I'm drawing a map of and all the things. trying to think if there's any interesting other points to really go into on the first flight. Maybe not for now. I mean, it's kind of super basic. I'm starting to actually wonder why I thought it needed to be in this section. I'm sure I can figure that out when I actually go into turning it into prose. Let's go here. So, MC in 8, Memory City in the 8 Lorddoms, is a socialist society based on the successful rebuilding of based on contracted and mutual goals for your core culture. I 100% agree with you on that, Rick. 100% agree with you. We're really obsessed with capitalism and power plays in our history and our fantasy. And often the societies that are depicted as like socialist leaning are depicted as naive and pacifist and easily taken advantage of. You know, we're talking like hobbits and Tolkien, or say, okay, this is going into D&D, we're talking about Kryn and Dragonlance and their version of hobbits, which are no, I can't think I'm saying this right, the Ken. Kinde. Yes, thank you. I knew Rick would know this. The Kinde are they're like socialist chaotic. They don't have any ownership whatsoever, and as such they're actually a burden on other people in the world. Makes sense for gameplay reasons. Players need to start with bad gear and then through gathering treasure become more kitted out. What does it have to do with capitalism versus socialism, though? I mean, like, yes, I would agree that there needs to be a path for self-improvement in a TTRPG. But gathering treasure doesn't strike me as necessarily a capitalist thing. Also, being well geared and being taken care of, like having your needs provided, aren't also the same thing either. And a socialist society is about making sure that everyone's general needs are taken care of. I don't think that's mutually exclusive from that, what would you call that? Path to... there's a word for it in gaming and I'm not thinking of it. I'm sorry. Anyway, that upward momentum stuff. I would say, however, that because socialism doesn't lend itself to to the desire for constant improvement in the form of things, of material things anyway. these people are definitely always trying to improve themselves and make things better for themselves and for the rest of their people and their families. Acquisition. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Traditional adventure is always about acquisition. I don't know that adventurers in this universe are not trying to acquire things. They're definitely trying to achieve things, and I think that's actually a good point, that in turning this into an RPG, emphasis needs to be put on the fact that there's more to the game than acquisition. Yeah, no. I don't think that you're that. I mean, we're definitely not going into arguing about real world stuff. But there's definitely an element of, you kind of have to digest what our real world concepts are and how they relate to each other. And sorry. And like smoosh some really disparate things together to see if they really don't get along in principle, as opposed to, in the real world, they don't get along just because we tend to think one or the other. We don't think about the spaces in between, and the spaces in between might be, quite hard to actually achieve, or that are, in the case of like the type of government that is going on in Mimini City and the 8 lorddoms right now, in real world terms, we actually consider this kind of structure to be unrefined, to be imperfect, for whatever reason. I mean, I think as humans, or at least in our world, we love this concept of putting things into pretty boxes. I mean, I guess that's what it boils down to, is pigeonholing stuff, putting labels on them and putting in them on bright and shiny boxes that make people want them. And I think there's a way that you could boil it down to say that is all about power structure. If you can put a label on something that makes people want to be a part of it, then they will do that, and then you have power over them because you are psychologically outside of that system. You're not beholden to the system, as it were. And I guess in a way that's what this society has gotten rid of. It's gotten rid of the need to have they don't have power. They didn't have power. They don't know what power is. Does that sound weird? We're talking about people who've been subjugated for 2,500 years, and they've never been in charge of themselves. They've only ever lived in groups of about 200 people maximum. So it was rarely ever more than familial style power structures. So in no sense, it wasn't like, when you're a patriarch or a matriarch, or I don't know what the non-binary term is for those things, an atriarch of a family, and maybe this is being naive, but you're not in that position because you want to maintain power, are you? You're in that position because you want to take care of the people who come after you and the way that the people who came before you took care of you. The angle that you're coming, it might be power of a kind, but the angle that you're coming at it from is wildly different. Because it's all about safety, isn't it? Isn't that why we amass power? Because we want to be safe. We want to be stable. I'm sure. Oh God, that's like a whole other can of worms. But meritocracy can hold off better gear for newer players. Yes, a meritocracy could. You're right. This isn't a meritocracy, though. This is very much about basic human rights. These are people who have experienced not having any rights whatsoever. And they allowed themselves to fall into the hands. Let's see if I can describe this in non-ableist terms. There's definitely a saying, something about hands. Oh, sorry, Heather. Yeah, well, I get what you're saying, Ben. We are not at the point of being system designers yet when we're working on this world. That's why this world is very much setting agnostic. I really want to approach the design of the game from the point of view of what is the setting first. My priority is to give the setting a really solid identity and then base the design on that. You and I have had some talks about this. And by the way, Flickering Torch is starting a YouTube series on RPG design. Of course, it's not going to be all one word on YouTube because it's YouTube. And you don't need to hear that. Where is that video? Here we go. Okay. I'm going to put that in chat for you. Ben has started a series on designing RPGs. And he and I have done a little bit of chatting on design in general. So I know that we have slightly different views. I will admit that part of the reason that I want to approach it from this angle is because historically, I am the kind of person who will get obsessed with the technical details of a thing and have a really difficult time applying the art to it after the fact. This is, I think, very much an attempt for me to do it the other way around, to start with the art as much as possible, and let the art be its own thing, and then to try to apply the technical afterwards. That's not to say don't say stuff like that, by the way, Ben. Please, because I can always make a note of things like that. But if I sort of steer you in a different direction, that's why I'm doing that. So let's see. Yes. And I also have no idea, literally no idea what kind of TTRPG this is going to end up being later on. I'm very much an indie RPG fan, and a narrative RPG fan. I like the games that have very little structure. I like the games that are very abstract and you don't actually play a character or a specific character, and you're going to see that a lot coming up in my actual plays that I want to be doing. So I don't have any preconceived ideas about what kind of role-playing game this is going to end up being. Okay. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. Multi-generational game. You know what? Surely I've got somewhere. That is that folder I can't get rid of. Theory. Where can I put notes about? I'm just going to put it in here. Add folder. We're going to call it RPG notes. And going to add some text. And we're going to call it what's at stake. What does a player hope to achieve through gameplay? In traditional fantasy RPGs, acquisition and what's the term that Ben used? Maybe it was Rick.
I don't have a lot of patience for people who feel like they're down
Don't know.
from the cosmos.
Acquisition
just
and
that's how it came out.
we'll just say power.
Right, now let's make it better. But just writing
Okay.
from a place of understanding.
All right, I have a note for that now.
Fear,
And
where you're just grateful
do a new one for what Rick just said, and we'll call it. What do we call it? Gameplay concepts. And we'll put a note in here about
support the ideas.
multi-generational game. Each session is a new generation. Okay, that is noted. Thank you for all of your bright, happy brains with all of your great ideas. I am doing this channel exists specifically so I can steal all of that from you. It exists because I love collaboration. Nothing makes me happier than making something amazing with a bunch of amazing people. And if I have to trick you into thinking that I know what I'm doing in order to make that collaboration happen, I will. Okay. So, barter. I think honestly, labor is a capital that you can barter with in this culture. You can barter with items. So no formal exchange values. Up to the seller and buyer. I think that this makes for a very lively marketplace. Ooh, how does this sound? See now, because I've been thinking about mechanics, now I'm thinking about it right now. A marketplace mini game. How does that sound? Just like as a concept. A marketplace mini game. I feel like that could be hilariously delightful. And if you walk into a marketplace, you're automatically playing the mini game. Like, you can't get away from the mini game because that's the feel of it. Ooh, sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. That would be the feel of walking into a marketplace like that, wouldn't it? Like, people would automatically start engaging with you and trying to sell you things, and that would be great. Yeah, way to go, Ben. Ruining my stream. Okay, that sounds. Oh, yeah, that sounds like fun. I have no clue what I'm doing in designing stuff, or how I want to design stuff, or what principles I'm going to start with. And that's another thing that I feel like if I start too academic, I will just end up with an inferior product, and I don't want to do that. So I'm working on a couple of little tiny projects on this, like maybe stuff I can't talk about because I don't want to get hopes up or anything. I also don't want to fail you if I don't end up finishing them. So, there's someone else. That's another person who followed me recently. Wilbo of Wilboverse followed me recently, and thank you for that. I appreciate that, Wilbo. Thank you. He has a stream. He's not even here, so I don't know if he's gonna have any idea that I'm talking about him. Yeah, that's right, Wilboverse. No, what is his? Ben, you know who I'm talking about, right? The Wilboverse. No. What is it? Let's just look up Wilbo. God, how many people use that name? Okay, how am I gonna find this? Somebody help me find this. I have so many notifications. Okay. Wilbo. No. Sorry, I'm doing this stuff on Twitter on the side. People. No. Here you go. RTDD Wilbo. That's what he is. There. Ah! Found it. Okay. It's What's up, Bilbo? Ta-da! Okay. He has a stream that he does where he plays a fantasy RPG. There we go. Choose your own adventure book. Do you remember those? I bet Rick remembers those. That is right up Rick's street. Oh, hello, Nathan. I don't know you, Nathan, or Sir Nade. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming by. Let's see. I'm trying to find a link to this lovely person's videos. Are there others? What's the first one? Yesterday, 3 days ago. No, that's Walking in the Woods. It's his one of his mental health streams. Will seduce his chat. Walking in the Woods. View all videos. I'm acting like I've never been on Twitch before. World Building Kindness Club. Here it is. This is the first one. Okay. And copy, and we're gonna put this into chat. Boop. Here we go. You always cheated at them. I 100% believe that. 100% believe that. I never did any like playing like RPG, choose your own adventures. But I used to read, do the like book version of choose your own adventures, and those were damn fun. I loved those. I wish I had had more of them, but I was really bad at asking for things when I was a kid. So, anyway, so Wilbo is doing this series where he's doing the Warlock of Firetop Mountain with chat, and it was hilarious. I watched it last night, and it just made me want desperately to write an RPG, choose your own adventure, and I may do that. I may, like, the first thing I create for Kinde might actually be a choose your own adventure book. That would make a really cool like zine series if you just made choose your own adventure books. I'd like to bring that back. I'm also getting really into the idea of solo RPGs, and that's kind of on par with that as well. You might actually see me start doing some solo RPGs as actual plays on this channel if I can wrap my brain around how solo RPGs work. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Ironsworn's a bit of a different, like, Ironsworn is standalone. It's self-sufficient. It does its own thing. It's got all of its own rules that you need for playing all on its own. So in that way, it's a special in the world of solo RPGs, whereas there's like the concept of you've got like journaling solo RPGs. Oh, I can't wait to see that then, Ben. I'm looking forward to that. You get like journaling solo RPGs, which are like the Sealed Library, who is another person we know from Discords. I need to, before this session ends, I think I just need to like start just linking a bunch of things to everybody for everything. By Matt Sanders. He's on Twitter as I am Matt Sanders. You can find his stuff. He's got a zine quest up right now. He's writing games all the time. Some really interesting games. Then you've got like playing games that aren't meant to be solo RPGs, that there are tricks to playing them solo. Like there's Blaze in the Dark. You can play solo using a subset of rules called Alone in the Dark. And then there's the concept of what is it? An oracle, which it's like an RPG engine that is there specifically to represent the world reacting to you, or like so that you don't know what's going to happen before it happens. Then there's GM emulators. That's another solo RPG concept for games that aren't necessarily meant to be solo. And I'm just trying to wrap my head all around this stuff. And this is one of the projects that I have to have going on in the background right now that I don't want to talk about yet, because but it would be for both the purposes of solo RPGing and improv GMing. That's really exciting to me. GMulators. Why isn't it called GMulators? That is a very good question. I think you should go on the solo RPG subreddit and demand to know why they don't just call it GMulators. Okay. I don't know what else to talk about specifically on Currrency. I don't really have any specific notes other than these. But calendar is an interesting one. How much time do we have left? Maybe I should leave calendar for the next one. Because I was trying to decide when I was setting this up and trying to figure out how much content I could get through. I was thinking about what do these people know that would lend itself to making decisions about what kind of calendars exist. Is it seasonal like a lot of our early calendars were? You've got lunar calendars, you've got lunar solar calendars, which is somewhere in between, because like a lunar calendar loses time from year to year, and but by adjusting it to the solar year, which is where you get a lunar solar calendar, you can still have months that are dictated by the movement of the moon, but don't lose days. The problem becomes that human agriculture as we know it prior to the Exodus was not dictated by the seasons, because it was only underground. Trade bars in your currencies so people don't have to haul vast amounts of items long distance to trade. I think I know what you mean, but if you could expand on what you mean by trade bar, I'd appreciate that. But so if we're thinking in terms of trading between settlements, I would say today that doesn't exist a lot. That is in fact, I would say, what Nillenhold is trying to achieve, is the ability to be able to trade between settlements more, and potentially in the further distant future to trade between the other elven cities on the continent of Wadaluna, so Adevian and Calyrax. By building ships. That's what Nillenhold is doing. So they're trying to allow for that kind of trade. Trying to think of what kind of trade would need to occur in the present day. Let me get up my map. right, so this is our figurative map. Each of these bigger cities, Bridgend, Nillenhold, Killinsmeet, New Defiance, Hartford, Rest, Venturehold, and Hedgehog, they have purposes. They have specific concepts or trades that they are meant to do particularly well. So we've got farming, shipbuilding, what would you call it? Masonry, human culture, ancient human culture. We've got river travel, and art. We've got how would you call it? I can't think of the words. This is the settlement that's based on an elven ziggurat. So it's called Rest because they're there trying to steal whatever knowledge they can from anything that the elves left behind. And then Hedgehog is magic, and Venturehold is about adventure and overland travel. It's about making contact with Odevian to the north. Bridgend also has a slight element of trying to make contact with Calyrex to the west. Okay, I see what you mean. I think I was sort of made a point on that in saying that there aren't any formal exchange values. So, okay. Thanks for popping along, Rick. You have a really good night. And yes, I will see you tomorrow for Black Griffin, which should be emotional and exciting. Yeah. Good night. Let's see. So, I think if they, I think in the future they're going to have something like what you're talking about, Ben. But I don't think we're there yet. I don't think there is enough travel and trade between the settlements for that to exist. Where am I at? Back here. So, Nillenhold builds ships, and they only have like maybe 1 or 2 cargo ships at this point, and they're all cargo ships really. High River deals with river trade here, so we're talking about it's a lot of fishing and that sort of thing, and any kind of transport that needs to go into Mimini City. High River's boats do a lot of the moving of goods into Mimini City because there is an underground transport system built into the caverns underneath the mountain. There is no travel here because this is basically just all rapids. This is the big river, and river boats definitely travel between Venturehold and Hartford. Because it's actually faster and safer in some ways to get from Hartford to Venturehold by riverboat rather than by taking the roads. Hedgehog has very little need for anything outside of what they can make themselves. They are the magic users. The idea is that these cities are all self-sufficient until they get to the point of needing to specialize enough. That's the sort of social thing. I keep saying they're specialized and they're not specialized at the same time, and I don't know if I'm being clear on that, on what I mean by that. They have goals. The first flight had a goal, but they only took so many people to those settlements as were capable of achieving that goal within a reasonable amount of time. They still had to take hundreds more people who don't have any skills involving that particular goal, just so that the society could survive, be self-sufficient. So they took a lot of people who just do normal things like, making clothes and building houses and farming. And so I guess what I'm thinking about now is what's interesting about that is so for the specializations of a settlement, there would be whole castes. Sorry, that's my printer turning off or making noise or whatever. There would be whole castes that went as a group to that one settlement that had that specialization. But if you come from a caste that specialized during the occupation in like building houses or maintaining houses or like governing or clerking, or if you were a steward, stewards are the clerks, and the governors. Guardians were the sort of like soldier class, the soldier caste, or police caste, whichever way you want to look at it. So if you were a guardian or a steward in one of those types of castes, or if you were in farming, your caste would likely have been very broken up. See, it's all about proportions. You have to think in these terms of, and I've done like a whole bunch of math on this actually. Where are we? Boop. All right, thanks very much, Ben. Thanks for coming, and I'm really glad to have you in chat while I'm working on this stuff. Always really good ideas. Look forward to your video tomorrow. Have a good night. Where am I? How many people in Nillenhold? So if you look at these proportions, we are talking about a few hundred people minimum. Like 50% of those people are stewards and guardians. And like a third of those people are actually farmers and hunters and fishers. See, oh, that's more like a sixth. And then you've got other people. Yeah, because we've got, and like a third of them are like builders. A 100 people is like half the size of an occupation caste. So there was no way that a single settlement could fit an entire caste in with its first flight. I suppose the proportions of who does what during the occupation is not likely to be terribly different to the proportions of who does what in an individual settlement in the present day. Because, I mean, those ratios always kind of need to exist in order for things to actually succeed. In order for people to be fed and clothed and whatnot. Well, maybe they would have lent slightly differently. Okay, I need to make a theory page for this because this involves some thinking. We're gonna make Actually, no. Yeah, no, it was... What were the proportions of occupations? No, cast work during the occupation. And we're going to come over here. We're going to say... what are we going to say? Doop-to-doop-to-do. Normally, the proportions of work needs doing would be the same in a larger city to that of a smaller settlement. I'm gonna question mark that because I'm not totally sure. But the elven cities may have skewed more in one direction than is typical. Maybe like a service. So the ultimate question then is, does Nim City and the 8 lorddoms have or had a surplus of some trades, and what's the opposite of a surplus? What's the opposite of a surplus? Surplus, antonym. So I can remember words like antonym, but I can't think of words like a dearth. I love that word. It's a word you can't use. This is what I love about the source, is there are some words you just can't use in regular everyday, but they're just perfect. And shortages in others. Factors might be lower tech magic than elven society. More need for building. Less for social and governance. Yeah. I think that could really add an interesting element to this society, that there might be call it labor shortages, because the makeup of present day society is so different to the makeup of society during the occupation, or the needs of society during the occupation. This is where I suppose it gets really post-apocalyptic. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, I think that's a really strong post-apocalyptic theme. Drastic change in needs, which isn't reflected by availability of labor and skills. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's interesting. Yeah, okay. Well, we've run over a little bit. Which is all right, I guess. Yeah, we'll go more into calendar stuff later. But let's see. Was there anything No, I think... How did I even get onto that? What was I thinking about? Proportions. I was talking about trade. Oh, I don't know. I was talking about the calendar. Calendar's not dictated by the seasons. Not aware of agricultural cycles. Oh, I don't know. But I feel like I left that point hanging. Sorry if I did. Hit me up on Twitter. If you think I missed something or forgot to get to a point, because I'm certain absolutely that I do that a lot. Anyway, let's end this bad boy. Some really good stuff from everybody. Really good points made. Lots of stuff to think about. I'm totally driving with the idea of a market mini game in the final RPG. That would be really cool. If anybody knows of anything that exists like that, like say for instance, there is an indie RPG called like Soup something. That's all about running a tavern, retired adventurers running a tavern. RPG, retired adventurers running tavern. Let's see, with a stew pot. That's what it's called. Stew pot. Stuff like that would be really interesting in trying to build ideas on what could make up a marketplace minigame. I need to put this on my watch list. Yeah. Okay. Well. Oh, you can't see this. I've forgotten. Here, look. The stew pot. That's what I'm talking about. It's on it. No Road Home. It's one of those like short, small games that could be fun to play after you finish a campaign. Yeah. If you know of any other games that are sort of similar to that, mini games that exist in other RPGs, or games that are very narrowly conceptual, having to do with markets, or even just like some weird microcosm of civilization, you know, farming RPGs, or archaeology RPGs, or town hall RPGs. That would be cool. That actually sounds fun too. Oh, I need to make a mini game of town halls. Dang it. Oh, okay. We're gonna go back. We're going back, people. We're gonna go back to this RPG notes. Gameplay concepts. Marketplace mini game. We need a town hall mini game. What else do we need? Do we need a teaching mini game? Something for the exchange. Maybe it's just a game of mini games. That would be actually really apropos for something like this, for like rebuilding civilization. It's because your life then is like a series of mini games that you're trying to learn at the same time that you're playing them. Oh, that would be interesting. Okay, all right. Okay, final time. We're gonna end this sucker soon. Yeah, I think I don't have any Reddit posts this week. I couldn't think of anything to post in the world building subreddit that isn't posted there like every 5 minutes. Not on these particular subjects anyway. But I should be going to weekly at this point. I don't see any reason not to. Or rather going back to weekly, because I had just started and then had to stop again in November. But I should be going back to that. For now, rather than doing like alternate scheduling where I do world building every other week and like do some design stuff in between, I'm just going to keep doing the world building until I feel a little bit like I've gotten my puzzle back together again, a little bit more like I've gotten my puzzle back together again. Calling back to an earlier metaphor. But we'll just keep doing this stuff because it's fun, and I love having you all here and participating, and I am looking forward to doing more of it. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for following me. Thank you for watching my videos. Don't forget to look for the VOD on YouTube on Monday. I will tweet when that comes up. I should have automatic tweets now. Well, no, I need to actually make those tweets happen automatically. I need to schedule those tweets manually. Something like that. Anyway, I had a great time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself.